It was just really beautiful. Hey everybody, my name is Maya. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you are returning. Today we're going to talk about a novella that I finished earlier today called "And Every Day the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer." It is of course a novella by Fredrik Backman, who's one of my new favorite authors of all time. It's translated, I thought it was from German, but now I'm not sure because I'm pretty sure he lives in Sweden. So maybe it's translated from Swedish, who's to say, but the internet. And it was about a 1 hour and 10-minute long audiobook production. The novella follows the relationship between a grandfather, his son, and his son's son. So it's a son, father, grandfather relationship triad that goes on there, and it really is dealing with loss. And at first I thought that loss in the book would mean death, and it does to a certain extent, but more so, I felt like the book dealt with the loss of self. The grandfather is clearly struggling with dementia, and it's something that both the father and the son have to help him through. It discussed generational divides, it discussed falling in love, and what it means to have family with you when you're older. It talked about the fear of getting older rather than the fear of dying, which I thought was quite profound. And overall, it was just a really beautiful meditation on what it is to close a chapter on a life. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the themes explored in the novella and kind of connect it back to my own experience as a volunteer at a memory care center. So pre-pandemic, I volunteered at my local memory care and assisted living center probably 4, maybe 6 times a month. I really loved to talk to the people that were living there. I loved to hear their stories, what they could remember about their lives, incredible things they'd experienced. I made a lot of friends. We went on field trips. I helped set up for steel drum bands that came and performed. It was just a really wonderful experience, and one I hope to get back to as soon as COVID is a little bit more under control. One of my friends, her name was Berlin Chestnut, which I just thought was such a magical name, and she loved to tell me about growing up on the Front Range in Colorado with her mom and her dad, and she had 4 siblings whose names I can never remember, even though she told me probably 15 million times. I do remember there was a Christine, a Maureen, and a Hal, but I'm missing the 4th one. Miss Berlin loved to tell me about how she would ride horses to school. She would take them to school with her sisters and brothers, and they would tie them up outside and go to their class, and then during their lunch breaks they would come and to give their horses water, and she just thought that was so wonderful, and she loves horses. And I asked her at one point if she would like to ride a horse again sometime, if that would be a possibility for her, if she'd be interested. And she said, "Oh, I don't know if they'll let me do that again." And I said, "Why not?" Just kind of humoring her. And she said, "Well, they made me stop riding horses after my 2nd heart attack." And mind you, she was 97. We celebrated her birthday, and that was a lot of fun. There was a man there named John, and he thought I was his granddaughter. So every time I would go, he would get so excited and give me a big hug and ask about my dad, but not my dad, you know. And it was really sad, but I also kind of played along with it just because it made him so happy. And anything that I could do to make them happy was important to me. My dearest friend, other than Miss Berlin probably, that I made at memory care was Wendy. And Wendy's dementia, I think she actually had Alzheimer's. It was very severe. And some days she would be more okay, and we would have like fun conversations, and she'd give me fashion advice and ask me to wear blue next time he came. And other times she'd be quite sporadic in her moods. She would scream at me, she would cry at me, she would laugh with me. There was this one time when she tried to shove chocolate chip cookies down my shirt, just probably for me to have later, and it was kind of scary to see my friend go through that, because I did watch her deteriorate, and she has passed away, and it was very devastating. But then again, I also remember all the times that we had dance parties, and there was one time when we made paint splatter canvases. We went outside with like spray bottles, like for your hair, but filled with paint, and we made this fun artwork, and she was so excited about hers. She did it Broncos colors because she loved football. My biggest takeaway probably from that experience would just be how frightened these people were, because they were losing themselves, and how hard it was for their families. Their families would come visit while I was volunteering, and it was so hard for them to go. and I felt so horrible for them. But all I could do was be there with them and help them through it a little bit, whether that be with dancing or singing or with something as simple as a puzzle. Backman's book describes this exact phenomenon, but instead of it being with a volunteer, the relationship is specifically between a grandfather and his grandson. And it's fictional, obviously, so the grandfather and grandson are sitting on a bench in the grandfather's brain, and they just sit there and they ponder life and they talk about the kids' experience at school, and they tell the same jokes over and over, and they smell the same flower, and it's just really kind of a snapshot of nostalgia and love embedded within a pretty tragic circumstance. While Backman's novella is definitely centered around the loss of a person or of a being or of a loved one, I do feel it's very applicable to just kind of the current situation we're facing today in the world. I feel like I've lost a lot from COVID, and I've been incredibly fortunate throughout it. My family has generally stayed very safe. I haven't lost any friends to COVID. I haven't been exposed to it. When I'm at home, I have a safe place to be where I can access food and the internet and get my schoolwork done. I have what I need to get through this, and yet it's still been a very, I would say, traumatic, and I know that sounds quite hyperbolic, and maybe it is, but I think we're all experiencing a certain level of trauma right now because our worlds have been turned on their heads. So while I cannot imagine what it must be like to lose a family member to a pandemic that's been poorly handled by politicians, and I can't imagine not being able to attend school and having to work in strawberry fields in California because I don't have access to internet. Well, I don't understand all that, and I can just do my best to empathize. I do understand losing normalcy. I do understand having this experience I was told what high school would be by my parents, by my friends, by the media, and my high school experience has been nothing like the coming-of-age movies that I so looked up to and idolized when I was younger. It's very mundane, and it's been very twisted by all that's happening in the world, and I do feel a sense of loss in that way. I feel that I've lost a generational experience of growing up, of attending American public high school. But at the same time, I do feel like I've gained something from that loss. That with everything that we lose, we maybe pick something up in return. So while I have been stripped in a certain way of typical high school experiences like theater and sports and dances, I've also gained a newfound appreciation for the teachers at my school and for my friends and how much it means to stay in touch with someone when it's hard. Like, staying in touch is not easy, so I have really learned who I can lean on and who will be there if I need to talk to them. Loss is just something I feel is very prevalent in the world right now at varying scales and varying levels, but that doesn't make any level or any scale invalid. I do feel as though this book is a perfect book to read in this time. You know what it felt like? It felt like watching those videos on CNN of violinists in Italy playing on their balcony. The book felt like that because although it definitely details the heartbreak and the more tragic nature of loss, it also talks about the beauty that it took to get to that place. For example, this young boy is losing his grandfather day by day, and the grandfather is losing himself. But in order to get to a place in his life where he was capable of losing something, he had to have gained something first. And that's something the book explores through his relationship with his now deceased wife. They have conversations in his mind, and they dance all night in his mind, and it's just a really stunning, a truly beautiful account of a life lived, a life lost, and the fact that this is just a really universally human thing. To be alive is to die, and to die is to be alive. And I do believe that. And I thought that this book was really powerful and really touching. So if you are looking for something that feels like an Italian violinist on his balcony, on his veranda, playing Ode to Joy, if you're feeling like that, a melancholy version of that, then you should definitely pick up And Every Day the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer by Fredrik Backman. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you again on Thursday. Bye-bye.